Hello folks and welcome back. It's Thursday the 13th of January and boy have we got some 18-footer action for you. We're back in the rigging park, as you can see. We're over with the historical Australian Skiff Championships. This is Heat 2. We covered Heat 1 on Saturday, which was won emphatically by John Winning's Australia 4, this boat directly behind me. Very light conditions, but today it's a bit different. We've got a pretty gusty nor'easter out there, so you're going to see a whole lot better crew work on these boats. Hopefully, if they don't, they're going to be in the tide, and it's a long day once you go in. So yeah, it's 15. They're forecasting 15 to gust up to 20. There was a little bit of a rain cloud came through, and the breeze flattened out. So it's going to be up and down in range. But as we were saying on Saturday, these races are won in the park. So let's go and talk to some of the guys and see how they're setting their boats up. Okay, so we're with Jeremy Sharp. Jeremy, affectionately known as Blunt.
Yes. Can't think why.
Just perfect.
Just perfect.
Today, mate, we're just saying how you win these races pretty much in the park. You've got to set your boat, and I just set up your boat properly, and I just noticed you've changed jibs to a bigger jib.
We've gone up to a bigger jib because we think that breeze might have eased off a little bit, but you never can tell with these days. It's a bit of luck of the draw. Sometimes it comes in, goes out, comes in, goes out.
It's particularly unsettled weather we're getting here, isn't it, with these layers hanging around. So you've decided to upsize your jib, and you've gone for an intermediate sail, which is probably going to suit you because you've got to carry some tight spinnakers today, particularly from Chowder Bay back to Shark Island. That's a pretty fast ride for these old babies, and then you've got to jibe the whole program and get it back to the finish and put the ringtail on. So that's your plan?
Yeah, but you don't want to be caught with too small a kite going to the finish. You want to have a decent sized spinnaker there, so you want to sort of in between the two really, but whole idea is make sure you've got enough rag at the end and keep the boat moving. Yeah,
so you fancy yourself today, mate? You can put it to them. Woody's, you've got to beat Woody or be in touch with Woody. How much time have you got to give him?
Oh, it's about a minute or two, I think. A couple of minutes.
You've got to stay within a couple of minutes of him, and you can beat him.
Last time we had a good nor'easter, we beat him, but he's quick downwind. That's our big problem. We can hold him upwind, but he's just newer and quicker upwind. Yeah. So you enjoy racing these boats because you sailed moderns for a long time, didn't you? Before you got into 20-something years, yeah.
So these are fun.
They're great fun. Yeah. They've always got more things happening. There's always more surprises. You know, there's when they go wrong, as you well know, they go wrong in spades.
Yeah. So it's all about crew, isn't it? You've got to get your crew to work smoothly and understand all the jobs and help each other. Big part of it.
Even the small jobs are important. I mean, you know, if you get the backstays and the leg cloth's wrong on a jibe,
you're in the tide.
You're in the drink. Yeah, that's right. So they're never easy.
Yeah. You know? Well, good luck today, Jeremy.
All right, mate.
And we'll have a close look at you on those jibes.
All right, thanks for that.
Cheers.
See ya.
Okay, Chris Asgard, the Commodore of the Sydney Flying Squadron. Chris is also the steer of this great little 6-foot beamer, Australia. And if you saw Saturday's heat, Chris was the guy that brained him. Poor take the fleet there, Chris. Nice job,
very lucky, wasn't it?
No, well, you're always looking at that. You're always looking for things like that, aren't you?
Yeah. On this little old girl, we've got to make the most of every opportunity, Kilo.
Yeah. So we were saying before that you got the races are pretty well set up and won in the park. You've got to set these little babies up, put the right jibs on.
I noticed Woody's been secretly like sculling around, skunking around. Harold keeps walking past, seeing what we're doing, getting ideas. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's what it was all about, eh?
Yeah.
So, how do you think you go today? You've got a good crew with you, I see.
Yeah, our little boat isn't the fastest in these conditions, but if we can hang in and wait for Woody to self-destruct, we could go very well.
And you'll get a good start again.
We'll get a good start, and we might be a little surprise packet.
Good luck today, Chris.
All right. Thanks,
see how it all pans out, mate.
See you, mate.
Right. Okay, so we're out in the on the water, and you can see the committee boat, the Kalara 2. The skiffs have all made it out here. A little bit of a delay getting them all off the beach, but this race is about to get underway. And looking up the track, it's the #1 course. It's the first work is up to the beach board, like the modern 18s. Spinnakers on down to Shark, jibe, the spinnaker and back to Clark, then up to Chowder Bay, across to Shark and to the finish. So that'll take them about an hour and 20. And the good news about this track out here today, there is hardly any other person on the harbour. There's a couple of yachts just poking around, but there's no other racing activity. So these guys have got this to themselves. So it should be the race for scratch, which doesn't decide the championship, should be very interesting. You've got Harold Cudmore with a good crew out here. Johnny Winning will be up for this. The Alruth with Captain Blunt. We can had a chat to him before the start. He's got his boat rigged nicely. And little Aussie, the boat that Chris Hascard drives, got off the start well. He'll go well up the first beat. Remains to be seen how he goes under Spinnaker. So there we are, we're into the prep signal now, so we'll get them away pretty shortly. So it's just a great afternoon. There's not a lot of sunlight, a lot of high cloud on a day up in Brisbane where we've had these massive floods. The poor people up in Brisbane, the Brisbane River's completely flooded its banks, and so we're in a lot better shape than they are down here. So we'll come back to you within a minute of the start and pick it up from there. Back to you. So we're coming up to about the 1 minute gun's going to sound pretty shortly, and we're looking at the start line. It looks pretty square to this breeze. Harold Cudmore in the mistakes, gone way down there to have a look at it, and Jeremy Sharp in the Alruth just had a little peek at it. Chris Hascard's been down there and sized it up, so it remains to be seen who's going to start down on that pin end. I think it's a pretty fair line, so this should be a good start. Everybody should get away with a lane, and won't be any general recalls, hopefully, or remains to be seen whether the starter does any individuals, but everybody behaving themselves at the moment. They're all coming up. We'll get that minute horn any second now, and this committee boat is looking pretty popular. They're all sort of starting to shape up here for it. Paul Lyons in the right here beside us. So there's a minute to go, and Top Weight's had to tack out of there. He was way too high with all those boats coming in behind him. So Chris Hascard and the Australia's going down there. Harold Cudmore's happy to be down on that pin end. If you turn around a bit, Johnny Winning wants the boat, so does Yendes and Tangalooma. They're happy to just shape up into this committee boat end, but they're really jogging. If you go around, yeah, you got those boats. You got Alruth with the yellow A, and Mistake right up on the line. We've got the Top Weight panicking to try and get in here. This is going to be big. Simon, stick with this bit of vision. They've got no rights whatsoever there, and just waving themselves through just tagged their boom on the jib of Yendes. So this race is about to get underway. Johnny Winning is right on this committee boat. He's rather be a little bit late, but any second now. So all those pin end starters, Harold Cudmore, there it is. So it's a clear start, and Harold Cudmore has got his boat away beautifully down that pin end. He's the best of that pack. Australia, Chris Hascard and Johnny Winning right in the foreground here, just coming up over the top of Yendes, has got his perfect boat end start. So there they go, folks. The flying hysterical 18s, they're on their way to Bradley's. Not real fast on a wind, these things, as we said. They're way before 1950 model replicas, so 4 to 5 knots is probably all they're going to get the speed out of them upwind. But today we're going to see some action downhill when they put those big Peacock spinnakers on. So we'll break from this and get up to them and just see how they're swinging them down. So here they are, Johnny Winning in the Australia 4, the most weather boat. This breeze is quite in the east. They're holding their bows up nicely to Bradley's, and underneath them is the big red anchor of Yendes, and you can see the crews all really putting their backs into keeping these boats upright. So Yendes is a little rocket ship in these conditions. She's perfectly rigged, and you can see she's got just a 3 or 4 degrees height advantage on Woody's boat, and he's just starting to eke out from under Woody's bow. So they're going to have a ding-dong battle all the way to Bradley's like that. Woody's got to hold his gauge off the Yendes, but there's a close battle. And further down to leeward, we've got Harold Cudmore in a ding-dong affair with Alruth. You can see the blue shield and yellow A of Alruth, and Harold Cudmore trying to do the same thing to Captain Blunt, trying to screw him up. And the lure to them is the little Aussie, Chris Hascard, with the Mighty Britannia underneath them. So 2 different packs here. Johnny Winning and Yendes probably leading him at this stage. Early days yet though. So we'll pick them up at Bradley's and we'll see some tacks going on. So here's the fleet not far from Bradley's now. So the first attack is Britannia, and Harold Cudmore going to stand in a bit further yet with the little Aussie underneath. And we're going to get out of here for the Mighty Brit, but the lead is still with these 2 boats over here. Simon, Australia 4 and Yendes, and Yendes has got the better of Australia 4, been able to pull ahead of him, and just a nicely rigged boat. They've got a bigger jib on their boat. Woody's got a number 3 jib, probably a little bit underpowered. And the other boat with a bigger jib is Alruth. He's got the number 2 on that boat, and Woody's just suffering a bit from not enough head till grunt at this point in time. So you can see how Yendes has been able to lift up and get clear ahead and in front of the Australia 4. So that's how it's shaping up. That's Bradley's head right behind it, in the background there with the white light. So Yendes looking really good. Probably Yendes leads them for mine at this point in time. It's a long way to go to the Beachel Buoy. We're only probably a quarter or a fifth of the way. It's a long way up the harbour, but I'll get up there. It's pretty flat water, so there shouldn't be too many dramas this afternoon with lots of other racing craft and ferries and all the manner of recreational boats. So they've got the harbour to themselves. So that's happy days. Should cut from this and come back to you when we've got some more action. And Harold Cudmore just coming off the beach now, so he's going to be interesting whether he can get across Yendes. I don't think he can. Yendes is on starboard, and no, Yendes will cross Harold Cudmore. Harold's got his bow up nicely there. Yendes is going to get through. So Yendes is, I think, the leader. Be marginal with Alruth now just tacking off a little bit further into Bradley's there. So it's very close between Alruth and Yendes. And the Mistake and Australia 4 will be our top 4 on the racetrack at this point. Back to you shortly. So there's the leader on the racetrack is Alruth, as we were just saying when we cut before. Nice job of coming off that Bradley shore. Tide's running off at this point. So the mighty Alruth just got his nose in front by about 4 or 5 boat lengths from Yendes to Harold Cudmore, and then John Winning behind us. He's gone further into Bradley's, but Alruth looking a picture here. Got that nice number 2 jib on, powered up nicely, and all the guys up on the rail putting their backs into it. Really percolating at probably 4 or 5 knots there, which is not fast by comparison, but for old 18-footers, this is the speed they did when they go into weather. Good looking race this. Come back to you when we've got some more action. Okay, so we're probably another 10 minutes further into the race, and you can see the difference now. A little Alruth there, gone back to the east with Harold Cudmore, so he's extended, I'd say, at this point, and Harold going over right into that east hasn't hurt him at all either. And it's going to be a close cross here with Australia 4 and Harold, and we've got the mighty Red Anchor just in front of us here, and little Aussie Chris Hascard hanging right in there, but just out of this top 3 at the moment. But it's all Alruth right now on the racetrack. Great afternoon out. This wind's probably nice 10 to 12, 13 knots in the gust possibly, so it's the boats are nicely rigged for this. They've all got all their weight out and they're all working away. And Yendes looking a treat going up here. So this race has developed into a race of 2. The East has worked big time here. Johnny Winning, who was behind Harold Cudmore on the last cross, went right back into Steel Point, and you can see the difference that made. He was behind by about 3 or 4 boat lengths, and now he's about 2 or 3 boat lengths in front of Harold. And a little Aussie who went right in there with Woody as well has come out of that extremely well. Now, right across on the other side of the harbour is Alruth, who decided he wasn't going to have any of this east, and I hope that doesn't really punish him too much, but he's right over there in the northern shore, so we're going to have to wait and see. He's got to take another 10 or 15 minutes for him to come back, but he's right over there on the Chowder Bay shore, whereas these guys are hitting the bricks in the east here, and it's paying off big time. This easterly has lifted them right up to that Beachel Buoy. That's Sue Crafer in there, Noddy's wife. Come out in the boat today to help Harold. This crew's been thrown together again to get Mr Cudmore a race, and it's a pretty good looking crew, this one. You've got Perry Como on the sheet, an old skiff sailor, and 16-foot skiff sailor and 18-foot skiff sailor. That's Perry sitting next to Harold. You've got Willie Morrison, a great old skiff sailor as well, come down to assist. Sue, Noddy and Russell Debney, ex-Alruth, clipping them up today. So they're getting a nice little slant and got extra height. So Harold might come out of this better than the others again by hitting this eastern shore up here. And right over to the right side, you can see Alruth right across on that other shore. If you pan round to the right, you can see the front runners. You got the Union Jack of Australia 4, the black rectangle of Australia, the red anchor of Yendes, and right across on that shore is Captain Blunt in the Alruth. Now he's getting quite a good lift up that shore as well, so he might have sniffed out a real race winner here. If he gets away with that, he might round that top mark with 3 or 4 minutes to spare, and that might be enough for him today if he doesn't capsize. So it's all there right in front of you. See at the top mark, it's not far away now. It's all about teamwork. Trying to break those strops in that chute. Still got a bit more to go there, Chappo. Not one of his better sets, but early days yet. You can go look around directly behind you, Simon. You've got Australia there in a bit of froth and bother, screaming and yelling. Pretty exciting stuff, these old boats. They're in full race mode, so everybody's just screaming and yelling out here. It's like the grand final of the Coliseum. Anyway, they're all in it, all heading for Shark Island, and then the tempo really goes up a notch or 3 because they've got to jibe those spinnakers. They've got to lower the jibs and swing those poles through and through the jibe, and then do all the ringtails, the backstays. Sorry, not the ringtails, the lee cloths. What am I talking about? Put the fin down in the fin box. A lot of jobs to do. So we'll get down there, just drift down there with them, follow them along, and just watch them go through those manoeuvres. But the leader on the racetrack is Alruth from Australia 4, and it's anybody's guess who's third now. There's Mistake, Yendes, and a little Aussie, Chris Hascard. Here's the mighty Alruth, Jeremy Sharp, sitting right up in the tuck there, foot on the helm. These boats have rope tillers. They don't have solid tillers. That's not the way they did it in the old days. You see that piece of rope in his hand. So you need your foot on the tiller to push the boat up. You're wondering what he's doing. So that boat's just doing a nice little job, nicely trimmed. The pole's got the right angle on it. The chute's got a nice ease on it, nice and full. Everybody at the back of the bus, got the bow up. So they're on their way to Shark Island. The fun starts, as I said, once the jibing manoeuvre comes into play. Come back to you then. So, making a big play here. There's quite a bit of breeze coming behind Alruth, and this little Australia 4 boat with the big blue chute on it has made up a lot of ground. You can see the water flying off the stem of that, and he's thundering up the back of Blunt, because Blunt is not in the same pressure. So here is a big move by John Winning, and he is still going. So Alruth just hasn't had any of that, so there's a good one to bring up to the leader. And you can see the difference in hull speed there. So this race is tightening up at the front. Australia 4 on the move. So there's the move. That gust that John Winning brought up has taken him right up and rolled straight over the top. So we've got a new leader on our hands here, folks. And Blunt has just got that gust now, and it's unsettled him a bit. But that was one hell of an overtaking move there. Just amazing, because Alruth is not a slow boat off a wind. It was all about that gust that John Winning was able to bring down, and he split from those other boats in 3rd and 4th and left them in his wash, and now here's the race for first. This is going to be great. Coming into this jibe down here, there'll be 2 boats side by side. It'll be the best crew that comes out of it will take the lead. Excellent racing in these old historic. So there goes the jib. So that's the start of the manoeuvre. Alruth elected to get rid of the jib and set themselves up for the jibe nice and early. I don't know if I would have been doing that at this point, but there's a long way to go to this jibe mark, and they've just sailed into a dead patch. Johnny Winning's guys won't go for their jibe for at least another 300 or 400 metres. So way early, Blunt. So this jibe mark of Shark Island's fast approaching, and see Bob Chapman, the forward hand, Chapo as he's known, is starting to set himself up. He's curling some ropes up there. He's got his jib that he's going to have to drop. He's going to have to release the jib halyard and lower that jib. He needs a hand to do that. He needs somebody to pull the windward jib sheets on so that the jib doesn't go overboard. If the jib goes overboard and goes in the water, they're in trouble. They'll stop and could break the bow sprit as a result of that. So this is all critical, all these moves, and Bobby Chapman is in the hot seat right now. He's got to be very, very clean and very precise about what he does, and then once he's organised and got the jib down, they've got to swing that pole around, they've got to get the backstay off the topmast and pass that forward. There's a whole lot of stuff, so it's going to happen here at any second. Here goes the jib now. They've got to get the new brace around the other side. The lee cloths have got to go up and down. The runners have got to go on and off. So here we go, folks. This is the jibe manoeuvre. Chapo right into it now. Lashes the jib down so it doesn't blow overboard. Off goes the backstay. Stevie Cav's knocked the backstay off, the old one. That goes forward. And Graves will put that away. Now they're in a position to swing the pole through. So the brace is made on the other side. Stevie Cavner pulls the new brace on. There he goes, putting it through the horn. And Chapo's reeving the new spinnaker sheet. Round goes the pole. Over comes the boom. Up goes the leeward lee cloth. There's people jumping everywhere. That's how it's done in the old days, folks. Jibing hysterical 18-footers on Sydney Harbour. You have to know what you're doing. On goes the new backstay. You cannot pull the spinnaker on until the new backstay goes on, which will pull the gaff out of the boat. So anyway, they were the wind was a bit kind to them there. It was quite light. Now if you come round to the right, Simon, you can see the goal shoot of Alruth has just come through the jibe. They've executed it pretty well. They've got the pole through and braced, and they're underway. So we might just duck around and see how the other guys get on, because this is where things can go wrong, and if they go wrong, they usually go wrong in spades. So we'll whip back and see how Yendies and little Aussie go. Here's the little Aussie. Now they've elected not to jibe their spinnaker for some reason. They haven't got the jib down, so there's no way the pole can go around. And not sure what they're doing. They're pulling the chute down, so they've decided they're not jibing the chute. Don't know what they're going to do next. So here comes the next one to come into the jibe is Yendies, the big bear. Got the jib down, a lot of screaming and yelling. And the next boat around will be The Mistake. Russell Debney feverishly working on getting his new sheet. Perry Como swinging over the back like mad with the old backstay. Just take your time, boys. And Harold's trying to work it out when everybody's set for the jibe. So nobody's on the lee cloth at this stage. The windward lee cloth's still up. There she goes. She's down. So you can see how an inexperienced crew, or a crew that doesn't sail together much, it looks like a shambles compared to those first two boats, John Winnings. But hey, they've made it. The pole's not braced back yet, but I'm sure it's going to happen in the next few seconds. There you go, pole back, backstay on. Perry's tightening that up, and Harold can get his pulse rate back to normal now. They're underway. Okay, so we'll get up the front and come back to you shortly when we get them going around the mark at the bottom. So halfway down the run to Clark Island, and nice pictures here of the gold chute on Alruth and the big blue chute on Australia 4. Maintained a lead, did that big overtaking burst of speed approaching Shark Island, and that's the difference. You just get a bit lucky sometimes. But they did sail well in that gust. Jeremy a little bit unsettled, took the jib off way too early, and then they got a bit unsettled as well. They could have been a lot closer had they not done that, I believe, but hey, I'm no expert. But there they are, the two leaders. So they're going to really get in each other's faces going back up here to Chowder Bay. So we'll catch up at the bottom mark and see who is pretty slick at getting these spinnakers away and stowed so they can get back on and win again. See you shortly. So here's the takedown, folks. Pole coming back aft. This is got to keep your head out of the firing line of those poles. Peter Shipway, Ian Graves busting those poles up so Chapo can get hold of that spinnaker tack. He's got it now. Gets it all in his hands. Stevie Cavner getting the backstay off. It goes forward, tightening the boat up. Chapo has got that chute coming down the mast. Biggles tailing it for him. Jerry Tickner just trimming the jib beautifully. And the poles will stay on the floor of the boat until Chapo can tidy his act up. He's got to get that chute stowed away in that spinnaker bag, and then he can place the poles back in some sort of fashion so they can actually tack the boat and not break their legs. So the mark is just in front of them now. Chapo looks like he's finished his task. The Stevie Cav pulls the main in, jib will come on, and Australia 4 back on a wind heading for Chowder Bay. That's how it's done, folks. Great job, those guys. We'll sit here and watch Jeremy Sharp. He's already peeled his chute, so he's decided to get away early and give himself a chance to get up on the hip, I'm sure, of John Winning's Australia 4 and see if he can get him some curry. He sailed very well up on a wind that first time, so Jeremy just probably feels he can get back into this race and give Woody something to think about on the fast spinning angle back across to Shark Island before the run home. So round comes Alruth. These guys have sailed pretty well, just a bit unlucky when Woody brought that breeze down to them. They couldn't do anything about that, but now they're back in it with a chance. As I said, they've got that bigger jib on their boat. Breeze probably just freshened up a few knots, probably just starting to get a few little white caps, so maybe this time Woody will be just as quick with that smaller jib. Right down the back of the fleet, astern of the Tangaluma, is Ian Smith's Britannia. Remember we spoke to Ian in the park as he was hoisting the gaff, and he was probably a little bit conservative today. He's got a reef in that mainsail and probably could do with that shaken out. This breeze didn't path to what he thought it was going to do, but as we were saying, these races are pretty much one in the park. You have to take a punt on how to dress your boat, what size jib, what size main, because that affects what size spinnakers you can hang off the topmast or off the gaff. So there's the mighty Brit, Smithy at the helm there, hanging on with Wee Georgie style. Both hands, got a big barn door rudder on it, this thing. It's a real handful to steer with. And Peter Sinclair just tugging away at that mainsail. So plenty of bend in the boom. And there's the mighty Brit as she boils along towards Bradley's. So it remains to be seen how this boat will stack up on its rating today, but it ran second behind Woody when the ratings were adjusted on Saturday's race, and John Winning has to give this boat somewhere in the vicinity of quarter of an hour. So I don't think Woody's quite quarter of an hour in front of them yet, but there's another 2.5 legs of this course to sail. So Woody's going to need to extend some more to beat this boat on authenticity rating, which is what this regatta is all about. So the Brit at this stage is still in the hunt. Good on you, Smithy. And you can see that big barn door rudder as she comes out of the water. Very authentic replica, that one, of Wee Georgie Robinson's Britannia, 1911 model. So here's Pete LeGrove and the Tangaluma. She's a place in front of the Brit at this point in time. So you can see she's been rigged pretty conservatively as well. Quite a small mainsail on that boat, probably not enough sail up. All the crew should be leaning over, maximise their riding weight. So they're just a little bit slow today because of that decision on a smaller suit. And sitting in there with the red hat on is Peter Notley, famous Notley brothers. Pete still sails every Saturday on this boat with Pete LeGrove. He's quite a tactician. He's a wily old 18-foot skiff sailor, this guy. It's a Manly ferry, goes by and tries to wipe the tap. So she's a big boat. Tangaluma is about the same vintage as the Britannia. She's 8 foot wide. This is how this class of racing boats started off. They're all 8 foot beam, and as the years went on and heading towards the 30s, mid-30s, the 7 foot beamers like Australia 4 is, like the Mistake, like Alruth, were developed, and they became the new racing class. And there was a lot of angst between the clubs that were sailing 8 foot beamers in those days, because that made all their boats redundant or slow, and so there's been some tumultuous years in the 18-footer racing that went on between the league over at Double Bay, which actually started in 35 when James Gilpin took the 7 foot beamers away from the Sydney Flying Squadron and established the second 18-foot skiff club, and they raced on Sundays. A lot of history in that. Johnny Stanley hopefully will be able to give us his insight into all of that when we corner him one day, hopefully not far away. So I was saying before the start, there was very few boats out on this harbour today, all the better for the 18-footers, but there goes one of them, the whale-watching boat goes hurtling through at about 30 knots. She's doing the Manly to Circular Quay run these days. So there's still some ferries in the area, and the mighty Yendies on our way to Chowder Bay. We'll get up and catch up with the leaders. Johnny Winning got a ding-dong battle on his hands with the Alruth. As you can see a cross coming up, so we'll get up to Chowder and see how they're going. Okay, so we've caught up with the leaders, and Alruth has really stuck at the Woody up this beat. We thought he might, and that's the turn mark, straight in front of Australia 4. So Blunt's going to be able to get around this. He's just going to let Woody tack for it now, and then he's only got to sail another 4 or 5 boat lengths, and he'll be on lay as well. So this is going to be the interesting race. Who's going to get these chutes up nice and tidy? I'd say they both had number 3 spinnakers up. Nice little fast run this across to Shark Island. Anybody's race at this stage. Round goes Woody's Australia 4, and up goes the chute. So Jeremy Sharp feverishly tying off the backstay, the sheet hand steering the boat for him. He's got to make that off very securely. You don't want to break your gaff. Selwyn Black spinning her up the mast. Same old routine. You've got to join those poles together, get it up in the snotter, brace it back, get the plate out, and then break it. And Johnny Winning still yet to set his. He's still he's just getting it on the mast now. So we'll get up there and watch Woody break it. They should light up going across here. The breeze has picked up a little bit. Just one little adjustment there. They've got to get the jockey pole in. That prevents the pole from bending too much. It takes a lot of the strain out of the brace. So they're just about ready to break this, I think. Pole angle right, plate up. Jerry Tickner pulls the plate up, sets that. And down the back of the bus, boys, Stevie Cav sitting on the stern. And that chute should be open. I don't know what's going on in there, whether it's a bit tight for them or... But not in a hurry to break it at this point. Still trying to get the spinnaker sheet in the turning block, I think is the problem. Come on, fellas, let's go. Right, Chappo, now he's going to break it. So this thing should light up a bit across here. The boat will change course a tad. They fill that chute up. So there she goes, heading for Shark Island, and he's opened up quite a bit of a lead here over Alruth. But the crew's got to balance this boat. Now there's a lot of skill in getting back and getting out. You've got to balance this. This is about a 3/4 run, and it'll get tighter as they go to the island when this breeze goes more towards the east. So they've got to get height now. They need to put some height in the bank. You can see that spinnaker collapsing. Woody's got some problems with the backstay. They need to fill this chute up. I think they've got a problem with the backstay. They don't have enough pressure on the backstay. The gas probably doing a bit of manic bending up there. So there's a lot in this. These boats are not easy to race, particularly on these tight angles. They're just approaching Shark Island, so you can see the gust come off Steel Point. And this gets a bit tougher for them because they've got to keep this height up. They don't want to get too low and get busted into the bricks on Shark Island. So looking pretty good for them. Just feathering through those gusts. Nice action shot. So here's the leader, Australia 4, executing the last job of the afternoon. They're on their way to the finish. Another nice job. A lot of activity on board that boat at the moment. Backstay back, very important. Pretty light patch here, so the next thing they're going to do is set the ringtail. That jib's got to go back up at some point when Chapo settles down. He'll haul that back up, and then there'll be at least 2 guys, and probably John Winning is going to be one of them, that get into setting this ringtail. So we'll just shut that down and shut the camera down for a second, just so we haven't got that much card left. So we'll come back to you when it's being pulled up the mast. The crew of the Alruth up fully drawing their ringtail. So that's it, folks, the 2 leaders, both ringtails up and heading for the finish. But you can see that lead through the Alruth. That is Australia 4, and Australia 4 is going to go on and win this today. Now it remains to be seen who wins it on authenticity handicap, and I think this little Alruth boat is in this with a shot, because John Winning has to give this boat in a race like this probably 1.5 minutes, and I don't know if he's 1.5 minutes in front of Alruth. So we'll get down to the finish We'll tell you the results on Saturday when we come back out, because that'll be the third and last heat of this Australian Championship. But I think this thing's going to go down to the wire, with Britannia is still going to come into this as well. So we'll get up and watch the leader go across the line and wrap it up then. So here's our leader, Australia 4. Only got about another 500 metres to go to take the gun. And they're looking pretty composed now. All their work's been done, all the good work's done. Remember, Alruth came out with all guns blazing up that first beat, and John Winning was sailed well to be second around that top mark. Overtook Alruth with a bit of a flourish off Steel Point when they brought that new breeze down, and haven't looked back. And Jeremy's just may get this on authenticity, not sure, but pretty relaxed looking crew there. Stevie Kavanagh, sheet hand, sitting on the tuck. You got Peter Shipway sitting there to leeward, working on the lee cloths and runners. Johnny Winning sitting in front of Cav. There's Ian Graves with that funny looking farmer's hat on, and even a sillier hat on Biggles, the ageing sportsman. He's the jib hand on the boat. Jerry Tickner sails third from the bow. He's holding that boom out. No boom bangs on these boats, of course. Too early for that. And Bobby Chapman, that solid as a rock forward hand, makes this boat get around in such good fashion. You just have to have a good forward hand on these boats, and Chapo is one of those. So here she is, the A4. Takes a scratch on Heat 2 of the Australian Historical Skiff Championships, and there's the horn. Well done. Nicely sailed, boys. Had to do a bit of work with that heat. But the cream always rises, you find, with these boats, and they've got probably, or arguably, the better crew on the water today. Blunt's crew is second best, as it turns out. So they've finished second. Harold Cudmore will end up third, and Chris Hasgard has clung on to Harold to give him a race, but Chris is going to end up fourth on the scratch race today. And further back is Tangaluma and the Mighty Brit. So that's it for us. We'll see you back out here on Saturday for the last heat, as we were saying, and thanks Simon Brown for squeezing the trigger. And I hope you enjoyed that. That's classic 18-foot skiff racing. You won't find that anywhere else in the world, folks. See you Saturday. Just rip the... He's still rolling? Hello folks, and welcome back. It's Thursday the 13th of January, and boy, we've got some 18-footer action for you. We're over with the historical Australian Skiff Championships. This is Heat 2. You have to set your boat up in the park before you go out in the water with these old boats. They're fantastic to watch. Hope you enjoyed it last Saturday. Today's going to be great. So there's the move. That gust that John Winning brought up has taken him right up and rolled straight over the top. So we've got a new leader on our hands here, folks. And Blunt has just got that gust now, and it's unsettled him a bit, but that was one hell of an overtaking move there. So this jibe mark of Shark Island's fast approaching, and see Bob Chapman, the forward hand, Chapo as he's known, is starting to set himself up. He's curling some ropes up there. He's got his jib that he's going to have to drop. He's going to have to release the jib halyard and lower that jib. He needs a hand to do that. He needs somebody to pull the windward jib sheets on so that the jib doesn't go overboard. If the jib goes overboard and goes in the water, they're in trouble. They'll stop and could break the bowsprit as a result of that. So this is all critical, all these moves, and Bobby Chapman is in the hot seat right now. He's got to be very, very clean and very precise about what he does, and then once he's organised and got the jib down, they've got to swing that pole around, they've got to get the backstay off the topmast and pass that forward. There's a whole lot of stuff, so it's going to happen here at any second. Here goes the jib now. They've got to get the new brace around the other side. The lee cloths have got to go up and down. The runners have got to go on and off. So here we go, folks. This is the jibe manoeuvre. Chapo right into it now. Lashes the jib down so it doesn't blow overboard. Off goes the backstay. Stevie Cav's knocked the backstay off, the old one. That goes forward. And Graves will put that away. Now they're in a position to swing the pole through. So the brace is made on the other side. Stevie Kavanagh pulls the new brace on. There he goes, putting it through the horn. And Chapo's reeving the new spinnaker sheet. Round goes the pole. Over comes the boom. Up goes the leeward lee cloth. And there's people jumping everywhere. That's how it's done in the old days, folks. Jibing hysterical 18-footers on Sydney Harbour. You have to know what you're doing. On goes the new backstay. You cannot pull the spinnaker on until the new backstay goes on. This will pull the gaff out of the boat. So anyway, they were the wind was a bit kind to them there. It was quite light. So here she is, the A4. Takes a scratch on Heat 2 of the Australian Historical Skiff Championships, and there's the horn. Well done. Nicely sailed, boys. Had to do a bit of work with that heat. But the cream always rises, you find, with these boats, and they've got probably, or arguably, the better crew on the water today. Blunt's crew is second best, as it turns out, so they've finished second. Harold Cudmore will end up third, and Chris Hasgard has clung on to Harold to give him a race, but Chris is going to end up fourth on the scratch race today. And further back is Tangaluma and the Mighty Brit. So that's it for us. We'll see you back out here on Saturday for the last heat, as we were saying, and thanks Simon Brown for squeezing the trigger. And I hope you enjoyed that. That's classic 18-foot skiff racing. You won't find that anywhere else in the world, folks. See you Saturday. Just ripped the... He's still rolling?